So I'm taking a look at a recent acquisition that I got from a friend of mine who gave it to me. This is a CTC16XL. This is a nice TV set. Nice color set, RCA, very well made, American made color TV. And it's got twin speakers in it, which is kind of neat. I don't know a ton about TVs, but I'm learning, and this particular one, you'll notice it has a cataract. That's where the PVA material, the plastic material that they inject between the safety glass and the tube, degrades over time, which is exactly what is happening here. So I will be doing the cataract on this set. And just taking a quick look at the chassis. This is going to get used, so at the suggestion of the previous owner of this set, I'm probably going to add some ventilation to the flyback cage. I did notice this flyback has lost quite a bit of the wax that's in it, but it does still work. This set works actually really quite well. I did notice when I was looking at the bottom of it, it looked like it might have still had some of those white capacitors that kind of look like the wax-coated ones. I think they're ceramic, but they do go bad. So I may replace those. I think one of the electrolytics, one of the filters has been changed or paralleled underneath. That's what it looked like. The tube is very strong in this, the CRT. It's a very good CRT. I believe he said he had replaced it. So aside from the cataract, I think that we're going to be in pretty good shape with this. And I was just taking a look at this because I've never had to do one before, but I've seen them done. I think the band, I think I can actually leave the band on this one to do the cataract. So I should just be able to pull the CRT out. So we'll pull the chassis. We'll get the controls here out of the way. We'll take the degaussing loop off of it. You know, a few other things, and we will get the CRT out of here. So I'm not a television technician. Hell, I probably wouldn't play a good one on TV. But I'm going to give this a go. So I've already started pulling things apart here. I'm just not versed in this at all, but, you know, I've studied some of this stuff enough to where I think I can do this. So I've gone ahead and I've pulled the wires off of the yoke. So they are marked on the yoke. We can see that we have blue and red, which I already pulled the blue and the red off. Here's the red, there's the blue, the yellow, and yellow with black. Pulled that off down here. And then the convergence assembly, for right now, I'll just leave that on there because I'm just going to pull the chassis at the moment. But the convergence assembly can stay. Eventually, I will take that off. I've already gone ahead and I've marked this because I kind of want to get things back where they were. Since we're not changing the CRT, we're just doing the cataract. I believe I have to take the tuner out, and I believe it can be mounted here. That's what these screws are for servicing. So we'll get the UHF and VHF twin lead off and disconnect the speakers and take the 3 bolts that hold, I think it's 3 bolts. It is. We'll take the 3 bolts that hold the tuner on and we'll put it here. I've already discharged the CRT. I just use a clip lead. A clip lead on a screwdriver is the easiest way that I've done it, and discharge the CRT, and yeah, it was charged. So we went ahead and did that. Let's see. Oh, you know what? I missed this right here. See, I'm learning. So I do need to take the convergence assembly off because this comes over to here. So we're going to have to slide this is the blue magnet, the purity ring, and convergence assembly. So we're going to have to take all 3 of those off in order to take the chassis out. I'll just take the convergence assembly with the chassis. So I'm just going to go ahead and work on that stuff right now. And we'll just take it out and we'll slip it up on the bench. And then, oh, here's the degaussing coil right here. That unplugs from the chassis, it looks like right here. It does. This right here is out of the tuner, coming out of the tuner. I think it's the IF, or into the IF. It is grounded right here on this little metal tab. So I've slipped that out from there already. So there's not a lot here. It's not as intimidating as it looks. The controls in the front just come with the chassis, it looks like. Just some locating pins. I don't think there's any bolts there or anything like that. And try as I might, I broke the rivet on the speaker. That's something that Shango66 talks about all the time. Those rivets always break. The other one's already been repaired previously, so I'm going to have to drill that out. Luckily, I didn't break the wires on the voice coil. So I'll just keep going here for documentation purposes. So the VHF is on the top of the tuner. I'm sure I could figure this out, but I might as well record it. The UHF, which doesn't even really matter anymore, but the UHF is down here on the bottom of the tuner, so we'll go ahead and unplug it as well. All right, and then I should just be able to pull the tuner out of here and mount it to the back of the chassis. Now, I don't know about you, but I think that that's a really neat piece of engineering right there. You won't see that today. Serviceability is not a thing, and as a matter of fact, very recently, Steve Wozniak kind of started a movement unintentionally, I think, but there's a movement right now called the Right to Service. And what it is a movement to push for laws that require things to be serviceable. And I am a supporter of that. I believe that things should be serviceable. I think that things are designed to be not serviceable, designed obsolescence. That's something that's been going on for years. And people are losing the ability to repair things. This stuff, now, of course, you know, this stuff used to need to be worked on a lot more than, say, your iPhone would, or a modern LCD television that probably never needs to be worked on. But when it dies, it dies. You know, serviceability just doesn't exist anymore. So I really do support that, and I think that this is a really neat feature. They put a couple of screws there, and they put, you know, mounting tangs on here to put the tuner there. So you can take the chassis out, and you have somewhere to put it. It's not just dangling by the wires. And I did just want to cover real quick. So the convergence assembly, it actually will disconnect from the chassis. So you can pull the chassis out without taking this off. I thought that would be kind of odd because you wouldn't want to screw with this necessarily if you were going to pull the chassis, which would be probably a lot more common. If you need to pull the chassis to work on it, you don't want to screw up your convergence. So it does actually plug in down here to the chassis, and these wires just are probably failing. I mean, they're gooey and sticky, and I don't know if that's quote cigarette glaze or if that's just the insulation breaking down. But it's very nasty. I recommend gloves. I didn't put any on, and I figured, well, I'll be done with this in a minute, and I won't, but I probably should have. So anyways, I just want to bring that up. The convergence assembly does in fact disconnect from the chassis behind the flyback cage. All right, got the chassis out now. This thing's filthy, but you know, I think I've learned my lesson in the past with some of this stuff. You just don't want to screw with it. I'm debating. Oh, I gotta put the shunt tube back in. I think this is the shunt tube. Yeah. I accidentally kind of knocked it sideways when I was trying to get the convergence unplugged. Anyways, I'm debating whether I'm going to do the electrolytics in this or not. This one's kind of domed on top. I know one of them's been bypassed before, so I might just do the electrolytics in it. But these don't usually go bad, but one section's bad in one of these, obviously. So I don't know. I may do it since it's out because, you know, the chassis is out. It's easier to work on now, and then I don't have to do it again later. And I do want to use this. I want to use this thing, and I want to use it enough. You know, the flyback in it has lost a bit of wax. Actually, it's lost a lot of wax. Look at that. That's concerning, and that flyback's made of unobtainium. It's just, you can't get it. So I don't know. I'm probably gonna install a muffin fan on this, maybe, just to try and save it, because I'm sure that I could get a flyback for it if I asked around enough, but I think you can adapt other flybacks to it too. But anyways, yeah, like I said, it's out. I think this thing looks like it probably was a smoker set. It's just got that, it's got that look to it. And kind of that smell too. It has that old smell. When I was doing clocks for a long time, I was doing a lot of old mechanical clock restorations. Those things that have a glaze on the finish that just had that smell to it. This smells the same. So I'm going to pull the degaussing ring off of here. At least that's what I'm calling it, because I know this is the degaussing coil. I'm going to pull this spring off of here. This is the ground spring for the CRT. So go ahead and we'll pull that off. That's actually really important. Put that with my spare parts. Rather, not spare parts, but the parts for the CRT. So we're just going to take these 4 screws off of here. Now, I think I mentioned this before, but I'm going to leave the band on here. I think I can do the Cataract without taking the band off of it, but we really won't know until we get the CRT out of here. But it should be able to stay on there. So just to satisfy my temptation, I went ahead and I ordered all new electrolytics for it. This one in the vertical, and these 3 multi-section cans. I just, you know, if I've got it apart and I really do want to use this thing frequently, it just makes sense to do them. I know that these generally don't go bad, but one of them does have a bad section in it, which just leads me to believe that it's not long for this world. So we'll do that. There's 2 of those Elminco paper capacitors that are in a ceramic tube. There's 2 of those under here. One is for the audio grid coupling, and the other one is in the vertical circuit. They're 2000 volt 0.001, so they're 1000 picofarad. There's only 2 of them. I'm replacing them. And here's something that's really interesting about those too. I started going through DigiKey trying to find an acceptable replacement for it. I'm thinking, well, I'll put ceramic disc in there. Anyways, the part number is on the SAMs. It's a TVA 1414. I punched that into DigiKey, and I'll be damned if that part number comes up. That's the acceptable replacement for it, which is which brand is that? I'm forgetting now. It might be a Cornell Dublier. I believe it is. I don't remember exactly, but the number, you can still punch the number up from 70 years ago or whatever it is, 60 years ago, and it comes up. And so I just decided to buy it because it's the right part number. So so there's 2 of those. Like I said, they're both the same. There's one, like I said, one's in the audio circuit, the other one's in the vertical circuit, and the electrolytics. And we're just going to go ahead and do those. These I'll probably just put terminal strips in up here and extend the leads and take my time doing that. But other than that, I'm going to leave this chassis alone. The flyback, eventually that's going to be an issue. So I'm probably going to install a fan in here. There is room, because since this is a 16XL console, there's all this room over here. They make little blower fans. I like those because they're a little bit more quiet than bladed fans. And they have a little bit more positive pressure. So I'll probably drill a small hole. Probably won't affect the flyback cage's ability to block X radiation. And I'll get a little fan in there to keep the flyback cool. And if I do that, I'm willing to bet this thing will probably last pretty well. I did go through, I tested some of the tubes. I tested this tube in the tuner and all the IF tubes, just because this thing's got something interesting going on where when you turn the fine tuning, you have to get it right up to where it starts to crystallize and the picture starts to blur a little bit, and then that's when the color really pops. So I don't know what's going on with that, but it's doable. You just gotta play with it. So anyways, we're gonna be doing that while the chassis is out, and then I'm gonna probably clean this up a little bit. I mean, you want to be really careful, but I'm just gonna take a little paintbrush and probably just very carefully. You know, I like using these little paintbrushes to do this because it's easy on the stuff and you don't break anything that way. It's soft bristle. And I'll just go through and I'll just clean it up. You know, it's not critical. It's more to get the smell out of it more than anything, because this thing just stinks when it's running. It smells like a smoker's set. So we'll just go through and we'll clean it up. And I made a mistake, which is just never surprising. I think it happens in every video. I mentioned the two Elminco capacitors in the vertical and the audio circuit. Those are not TVA 1414. That's not that part number. I got it mixed up in my head. I'm replacing those with Nichicons. It is the vertical output capacitor, the electrolytic in the vertical circuit. It's a 50 microfarad at 150. I started out by looking those up, but then, like I said, it was a TVA 1414, and I just, you know, it was on the SAMs. I put it in DigiKey, and it popped up, so I bought it. It was in the specs are exact. Okay, so we got the CRT out of the television, and it's an oily mess, and it smells too if you get close to it. So I can imagine when I get this off here, it's probably going to stink real bad. And you can see because it's oily, it leaked all over the inside of the cabinet. The metal bezel is probably one step above pot metal, you know, but it is metal, and you can see it actually started leaking on it and started corroding it on the back side a little bit. So it's good to get that out of here. So I wasn't sure with this safety lens on here, if this was the one that requires a wire or a hot wire to remove it, or if it just come off with heat like most of the RCA ones do, according to Shango. And I've been texting back and forth with him, just trying to determine what style this is, and it does look like it's going to be one that I can get off with heat. I don't think, based on what I learned talking to him, that this is the Zenith Shun. Boy, I can't talk as usual. The Zenith Sunshine type. This is a little bit harder material than that, so I do think that this one we're going to try heat, and if it doesn't come off with heat, then you know, maybe we'll try the other way. But I don't see how a wire is going to cut into this at all. I pulled a couple of chunks out of it. I don't want to do too much to it because I don't want to do too much to it because I don't have the safety gear on right at this minute, and it's got to sit out in the sun. But this is what the material is like. It's not a sticky material or anything. It's much harder than that. It's kind of a pliable, hard vinyl, I guess you'd call it. I mean, it is PVA, or I believe it is. So anyways, tomorrow what we'll do is we'll get this out. It's in a trash can. I've got sandbags in the trash can to keep it from tipping over. We're going to take this out on the lawn in the backyard where the sun shines most of the day, and put a black trash bag over it and let the heat just soak into it all day. You know, I'll put it out there in the morning, let it go all day, and I'll hit it in the afternoon with probably, I've got some wood wedges that I might try, but I don't know. I'm having a little trouble digging this stuff out of here, so I might just be restricted to using chopsticks. So we'll get just a little bit of pressure on there. You don't want to force it. I'm doing this kind of for fun, and I was actually kind of encouraged to do a video on this, so that's the reason I'm doing it. So, you know, if you want to know how to do one of these, go check out Shango's videos. He's done, I don't know how many of these, a lot. And he's certainly the expert on it. I'm giving it a go to see if I can actually do it. And so it begins. So we're going to let this sit for several hours. It's supposed to be pretty warm today, at 85. For here, that's pretty warm. And we got the sun shining right on it. We put black trash bag on it. And we should be able to get it up to about 160 degrees or so, I would hope. Let the sun do most of the work for us. So I'm just going to make sure that this is tight enough on here so that the wind doesn't take it off during the day, because it's going to sit for a while. Okay, since I forgot to turn on the microphone and there really isn't anything worth hearing here anyways, we're just going to go ahead and we'll speed this whole process up. It took about 30 to 35 minutes for me to actually do this, but I'm going to compress it way down because it's probably pretty boring to watch for that long. Well, stupid me, I had the microphone off the entire time, but that's okay. All you would have heard is me using the heat gun. So we did have, by the way, we had our PPE on for the whole thing. So face shield, I had sunglasses underneath, and now with no safety glass on it, this thing's even more dangerous. So now what I've got to do is peel all this crap off of here. So I'm just going to I'm going to use this trash bag here. I'm just going to keep scooping it off and try and get it out of here. And face shield, you know, while you're doing this. Let's see if we can't get this crap off of here. And it's going to leave a mess behind. You got to clean it up. Of course, the wind is kicking up right now. Oh, the smell. Smells like 10-year-old cheese. You guys get the idea. All right, so we've just got it in the shade right now. I scraped this off with a putty knife and then a razor blade to get it all off of there. And then I still need to clean it, but I want it to cool down. It's still very warm, 140, 150 degrees. I'm gonna take a break, very, very hot. You know, I had a full jacket on and protection for this, which makes it miserable when it's 90 degrees outside like it is right now. So we'll just let that chill out for a little bit. That's gonna take some scraping to get it off of there. I already started kind of attacking it, so I'm gonna wait a little bit on the safety glass and take my time on that. I don't have to worry about that popping though. I just gotta be careful not to drop it. But this is where the danger is. If this thing implodes, it's a shower and it's not good. So we'll be back after it cools. What a bitch trying to clean this safety lens. I've been at it with a razor blade, which I don't like doing because you put micro scratches into it pretty easily. But I did get most of the goo off of it. That stuff is just nasty, and it's, you know, I'll tell you what, Shango makes this look pretty easy, but I think he edits a lot of stuff out of it, as I kind of have. It takes time and patience to clean this. And I think it is finally getting there, but I've still got to do the CRT. I do want to get it done tonight. The CRT is sitting in the shade, and it's cooled off by now. Oh, and I did get the proper foam tape for this. I had to order from McMaster Car, but this is what we'll use to attach it for siliconing it. So we'll put just 4 pieces on it, and we'll stick it on the CRT. It's got to be immaculate in here. It's really got to be clean. So I'm just going to keep going at this. I used acetone. I used a little acetone to clean it off because it is oil-based, and it did help quite a bit. Now there's a little haze on there, so I'll use a little Windex and try and get the rest of this off. So we've pretty much got it all cleaned off here. Razor blade, and being very careful. It is sufficiently cooled down. I've already cleaned it with Windex once. I'm going to do it one more time. This Windex is probably older than I am. This is the real stuff. Anyways, so we're going to just make sure we get this nice and clean. All right, I'm going to go grab the glass. Now actually, before we put the glass on here, we got to put the double stick tape on, and I think that this is probably the right stuff. This is 1/4 inch by 1/8. That should give us enough standoff. If I have to, I can double it up to get more standoff, but I think that this will be all right. Now I'm going to test fit it, just because I'm not too sure if this is high enough. I believe it is, but I'll test fit it, and if it looks good, then we'll pull the stick off of it. We'll clean it one more time, and then we're going to take some compressed canned air to it. All right, test fit. Well, and I just barely put that tape on there right, but I think that that's going to work really well, and boy, is that going to make it look just so much better. All right, let's check it for any spots and use some compressed air on it. I do see dirt in here already. That's pretty even all the way around. So now we're going to get the silicone, and we're going to get this thing sealed up. Okay, this is just clear silicone 1, and I would have gotten black, but they didn't have any at the hardware store. So I just got to get it. I just popped it open. There we go. Alright, and you got to be really careful because you can overdo this pretty easily, so we're just going to do a real thin bead all the way around. Probably really should have my face shield on right now, just because these things are kind of unpredictable, but you can't hear me as well, and I think if it didn't go during pulling it off, probably won't with this, but famous last words. Didn't get quite enough over here. wasn't being aggressive enough. There. Just want it to get sealed is all. And it looks like I got it all the way around. All right, we got 1D cataract surgery complete on one CRT. And I think it came out pretty good for my first try. Got it pretty well centered on there. And the foam tape looks like it worked out just fine. So we're going to let this sit overnight and cure. Hopefully it's not too humid out here and there isn't moisture inside of it. It looks like I did get most of the crap out of it. I don't see anything glaring that ended up inside that shouldn't be. Okay, CRT is back in the television. It dried for 24 hours. Something I do want to bring up that Shango66 mentioned that I hadn't even thought of was, you know, I left the band on it thinking, oh, I'm going to be suave about this. I don't have to take the band off and re-index it and all that. The offset between the safety lens and the CRT is now different. So what he told me to do was lay it in there on the mounting tabs and then loosen, or lay it in there in the mounting tabs, get the screws in loose, all 8 screws in loose, loosen the band, let the CRT settle into the bezel, then tighten everything up. And that's what I did, and it came out perfect. It did exactly that. It settled right in. The gap is correct. There's nothing funny going on. So I just did want to mention that if you do leave the band on, that's how you should do it. I think that he sets the CRT in and then puts the band and the mounts and everything in. And on some of the CRTs, you have to take the band off to do the cataract. This one, I didn't. So, you know, you can leave it on there. All right, it's all back together now. I lined everything up as best as I could and used my reference photos to kind of get the convergence assembly where it should be, or where I think it should be. It's probably not right, and I'm sure the convergence is going to be off, but, you know, that's just the way that it is. I tried my best. I don't have a signal generator yet, but the HDMI to AV converter that I use that goes to composite into the RF modulator, this will output color bars with no HDMI input, so at least I'll have color bars to kind of help me. I can probably get it like close that way until I get a signal generator. You know, I don't have high hopes that this is just going to work right off the bat because these things are pretty finicky, and I did clean it. We held off on doing the capacitors and stuff. DigiKey is very backed up, and it takes them several days just to even ship stuff. So it finally shipped yesterday. And on top of it, I don't want to do all that work and this and throw a bunch of, you know, wrenches into the works. Let's just do one thing at a time. We took it apart. Let's see if we can take it apart and put it back together without changing anything. So with that, I think we're ready to apply power to this thing and simply see if it comes to life. So plug that in there, and let's see if anything shorts. I heard the degaussing. Let's see what happens. You hear the tubes heating up, so that's good. Let's see if we get high voltage and if this thing actually comes to life. It's a little cramped in here, so I can't get a great angle. Just the garage is very full of stuff right now. Yeah, so nothing yet, and I don't think I heard high voltage come up. So something's probably not right. Smells warm. But we are dark. Okay, so I did confirm we don't have high voltage. The horizontal output tube is lighting up, so I'm going to just do the simple thing right now and check connections and tubes and make sure that I didn't leave something unplugged or something screwed up somewhere. It has been several hours, and we have it working. So I'll recap what happened, and I've worked on it kind of on and off as I've had time today. We didn't have any high voltage in the last segment, and started troubleshooting that. I had the chassis in and out of it a number of times. Installed a cathode current checking point right here. Wanted to validate the current was proper, and I also wanted to validate that the oscillator was in fact running. The oscillator was running, but it was way off frequency. It was at 175 kilohertz, and it should be like 15.6, 15.7. And I just pulled my antenna out for my converter box, my clip lead. Anyways, what it ended up being after checking the coil for the horizontal oscillator tube, and after checking a number of components on the board and many hours of troubleshooting with the help of Shango 66, it turned out to be the tube. And I don't have a spare tube for it, and I just whacked the tube really hard with a screwdriver, and all of a sudden it popped, and we got the right oscillation frequency. So this has been quite a learning experience for me. I have a pretty good understanding of how the horizontal circuit works now, and I know where all the components are for it. So it's a good thing that it happened. But anyways, we did get it working. I don't have a signal generator for this, and so it really needs a base setup. The convergence is all whacked. It didn't matter that it really didn't matter that I kind of marked things. You can see in the camera, you can kind of see that there's shift in the convergence. So I need to do that. And I think that's probably why it's blurry. It should definitely have a sharp picture. It's got a good tube in it. It should have a sharp picture. So anyways, that'll come in another time, but we'll go ahead and we'll wrap this video up for now. It does look a heck of a lot better, and let me see if I can get an image up here on the TV. Okay, there we go. So the camera makes it look a little bit brighter than it is, but it looks pretty good. The camera definitely makes it look better. So it's a little bit soft, and the convergence is off, and I'm sure that's all set up, but I'm going to have to learn to do a setup because I just don't know how. But we'll get there. We'll get there, and I've got some really good help. So anyways, we'll go ahead and wrap this one up. It was kind of a fun experience.